Laptop open on the counter, cold compiling, toast pops hot. Phone keeps buzzing, group chat screaming. Who's on snack run? I won't lie.
Welcome to the Neo Notebook Streamcast. I'm Marty Gencius, professor, counselor, educator, and prolific podcaster, also coordinator of the brand, thepodtalk.net. So take a look at what we have going there. I've got a group of folks together who all have MacBook Neos, and we decided to start this show around 8 episodes ago, thinking that we would run out of news shortly, and we just make this short. And we try to keep it to 30 minutes, and it just hasn't been, we just haven't had a lot of luck doing that. And it doesn't look like the news is going to end because this is such a successful product. So let's get introductions from other folks. Dave?
Hi, this is Dave Ginsburg. I'm the host of the In Touch with iOS podcast, and I am an IT professional, and glad to be here.
Eric?
I am speechless tonight. I don't know, but I am here, and yeah.
Well, you better have something to say when it's time to talk about the articles. Brett?
All right, I'm Brett Kennedy. I'm a 33-year Mac veteran with an interest in photography, videography, and traveling.
Okay, well, I put together some show notes this morning and was surprised how much was still available. We didn't have a show last week because of technical problems with my Wi-Fi here, and I didn't really drag much over from the previous week's news. This was all pretty close to, at the latest, a week old. So this is new stuff. And the first thing that comes up is this topic about the price question. And one of the questions that's out there, there's different competing narratives that continue to swirl around the MacBook Neo's defining price point. One camp insists that it's here to stay. Still, others warn that component costs may force Apple's hand. And Macworld says, hey, the $599 is here to stay, and we have an article in the show notes for you to read about that. And then another article from Macworld, because they're so consistent with their opinions and with their research, that basically said, hey, it could be, analysts say that they could face a price hike. And this comes from the Taiwan-based tech columnist Tin Kulpan, who was one of the first to put out the news that we're going to be seeing Apple making more A18 Pro chips to kind of deal with the balance of what's needed with the demand for the MacBook Neo. So those are two competing articles from the same provider. It's not like they're the only people that are doing this. It's going to go up. It's not going to go up. It's going to go up. It's not going to go up argument. But the fact that this both came out of Macworld within a week was interesting. Any reactions to this?
I think either way, they're going to be right.
Yeah. You're right. Macworld will come back and say, see, we nailed it.
Yeah. No, but looking at the price points, we've seen Apple have these similar positions before with other products where if they want to raise the price or keep things the same. And I think it was the most recent editions of the iPhones where there wasn't really a price increase per se, but they just eliminated the lower storage tier, which was the lower price models. So technically, it's not a price increase because you're getting the same amount of storage for the same amount of money you paid before, just that lower storage option went away. So it's a real neat trick Apple pulls, and it certainly gives authors the way to spin it either way they want to say that they were right about it.
Yeah, it's just frustrating to see some. I mean, it seems like lately Macworld has been just coming up with some crazy clickbaity kind of articles. To be honest with you, I mean, it just feels that way lately. I mean, I follow Macworld all the time and like to use it for sources for the podcast. But sometimes it's like, yeah, really, why do you need to say this? It just, and they've got some interesting writers there now, I must say, that comes up with this stuff. And yeah, the Neo problem, and you know, just coming up with more negative stuff here. I mean, not that I mean, if there's an issue with the Neo and its performance, then yeah, great. I mean, I see people are doing hacks all the time, and we don't have an article in here, but I think we're talking about, you know, trying to make the chip a little warmer so it can go. You can push its limits, and you're doing kinds of all the other crazy stuff for the price point. Well, then you're asking for trouble because it's going to burn out that chip. I mean, but you're not going to get. I mean, the performance of this thing is amazing. I mean, I can't believe. I mean, I just did some Final Cut Pro editing just earlier today, and yeah, it's just phenomenal for what it's doing. I mean, my gosh, I don't know what else we could say about it. But you're always going to get these kind of articles, so they're so negative about it. And hey, the negativity, yeah, it's allowed. I mean, I'm not defending Apple. Apple has its challenges too with stuff, but I mean, Apple just got into this market because they thought it was going to be a good deal, and it turned out to be so.
Do you think it is because the media market has gotten so competitive that they have to not just report the news, but make every article a controversy?
Well, it seems like it in the Mac news area. I mean, just all of them just going after it. And we've seen Mac Observer, we've seen Macworld, Mac Rumors. I mean, I focus on Mac Rumors for a lot of the stories. I come to bring some topics for the show every week. I'm even noticing some of their crazy stuff coming on lately.
Yeah.
They're just trying to get eyeballs and trying to get people to click on this. You know, Apple Insider, another one. I mean, they're all trying to get more action, more activity on their sites, and apparently it's working because they continue to do it.
Yeah, it's the evolution of clickbait to rage bait to get people to interact with their articles more.
Interesting idea. Next topic is about supply updates, and you know the supply thing always waxes and wanes in terms of what's happening. Tim, during the financial call, said, "Hey, we're doing this thing where we're going to not have a continuous flow of product, but product is going to wax and wane depending on what we can do in terms of production and what we can do in terms of getting chips and, you know, dealing with differences from manufacturers." I took that to heart. So what we're seeing are articles that are coming out that's saying, in this one from Mac 9to5 Mac, MacBook Neo shipping estimates just saw a positive turn for customers. Well, I think this is the waxing and waning in terms of available hardware that Tim was talking about or forewarning us about with that. And then a second article on MacBook Neo's turned an impulse purchase. Oh, that was a fun one. Let's save that one for one for a minute. But any reactions to the demand, the market demand, and what we're seeing?
I think there's a shortage of Neos, and there will continue to be a shortage of Neos at least through mid to late September. The only thing is that, you know, depending on where you're going to look, you might find some machines. So, for instance, if you go to Costco, they have 2 colors, and they're available, and you can order them. But if you want to see one in the store, there's one available and it's out, but there's a demo, or sometimes you can get it. You know, Apple's got some stuff now. They didn't have much of anything for at least a couple of weeks, so they're just doing a round robin to make sure that everybody has something, which is actually probably pretty good. But there's not a surplus of units, and that's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, I just went and looked at my local Apple store and started scanning through all the Chicagoland area Apple stores. My store I normally go to, Deer Park, so has the citrus available and for tomorrow, whereas all the rest of the stores are saying available Wednesday, June 3rd. Wow, that's like
Wow.
Yeah.
that's 3 weeks. But then the downtown Chicago Michigan Avenue store does have it available as well. So, but then you keep going out like Eric, the Glendale and the Madison Hilldale store has it available. So
Yep.
does Mishawaka in Indiana. So it really varies. But this just kind of shows the market, because Chicago is a big area. It's a large population. It's popular. All the stores that are in the Chicago area, I've been to, I think all of them. I have, yes, and yeah, that's just how it is. I mean, I'm sure it's the same thing in New York City. I'm sure it's the same thing in Los Angeles. I mean, the 3 biggest cities in the United States. I mean, you check those, even San Francisco. Guaranteed a lot of those stores probably don't have it in stock. But this is citrus. But I looked at silver, and nobody had them in stock. Not least. I mean, the ship dates were out to like between May 27th through June 3rd. At this point. Again, like you said, with other retailers like Best Buy and Walmart and any of these other retailers, they obviously must have had some pretty good, and they got these, had agreements with these big retailers to get large quantities of stock of these.
Yeah, I live 40 minutes in different directions to 2 Apple stores. And one of the Apple stores is probably in a more prestigious, high-range neighborhood, and also one that's in West Akron, and sort of a suburban area of Akron is the other one. I really don't see any differences between their supplies and availability on products when I try to shop for a particular product and see what's available in what store. And frankly, a lot of time in this Northeast, and there's another one that's a good hour and a half away, in Northeast Ohio, they're often out of products that you would see announced in some of the major cities. So that's been a little frustrating. But, I've got my fair share of Neos, and I appreciate reading all the stories of people on Reddit who are getting their new Neos, but that seems to be sort of a pride post that they're doing. I just got mine. Hey, it's great. And it's nice, especially for new users who haven't been in the Apple ecosystem. But then there are also people saying, I can't get them, and then other people saying, I can get them. And I think it's location, and supply chain availability. And this comes from Peter Emery, who I think is in Australia. My local Apple store will have Indigo and Citrus 256 Neos in 1 to 2 weeks for pickup. All other Neo variants will be available in 2 to 3 weeks. So I am, as much as I'd like to go to Australia, and I'm not going to, it'll take me 2 weeks to get over there, and I'm not going to rush over and pick up a Neo for that. But Peter, thank you for listening and adding that in. Yeah, I have too many right now, although I'm getting a little Apple needy right now. I need an Apple fix. And it's post-wedding. It's like the stress is off. It's time for me to reward myself. That's what I tell it, and it probably does require an intervention. So let's go to this other article, which I thought was just loads of fun. MacBook Neo is turned into an impulse purchase for buyers, and this comes from WCCFTech. I can't speak to them in terms of a source, but as an impulse purchase for buyers, as they go in for a separate device repair, have ended up purchasing a MacBook Neo. And in this case, one Reddit user visited an Apple store for an iPhone battery replacement, mentioned needing a school laptop, and left with a Neo. when the associate located 2 units in stock. Another one came in for display replacement and departed with the Neo after calculating that the repair cost versus the laptop price would have been just as easy for them to get a Neo. This is pretty cool.
All right, so I guess this starts with all of us admitting which one of us made a impulse purchase when we got our Neos. I will be the first to claim that I am guilty of that.
Oh, I already admitted it.
I admit nothing.
Mine was not an impulse purchase. Mine was a planned. I was going to pick one of these suckers up because, I had the excuse that I'm going to see students with these things. I better understand the device a little bit better.
Oh,
And
yeah.
ordered one and paid for it completely and then went, I can get another one on a payment plan, which is not going to affect the credit too much, and ordered that one and then
And your education discount too.
and my education discount, and then paid the whole sucker off within a week. So I have 2 different colors. And so not an impulse. I knew I always wanted to try this platform out. I'll tell you, I did do an impulse by buying one of the low-end iPads once, and I absolutely hated it. It just was not. And it was a funky kind of keyboard arrangement with that. It was just kind of a mess. I didn't go into this lightly, but it was a planned purchase.
Yeah, for me, I knew I had a replacement date coming on my original M1 MacBook Pro. It was the old version that it was an M1 chip, but it still had the touch bar in it. So it was the first edition of the Apple Silicon MacBook Pro. And as soon as I saw that there was a new computer running on a modern architecture with no stupid notch in the screen, I just thought, okay, this is the one that's probably going to do the job.
Well, Peter Emery, who I think I am going to call the 5th Beatle, also said he had an impulse purchase. In a 10-day period, I bought the Neo and an iPhone 17e. So, yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, Dave, we're going to get to that sort of in an article that's coming up with this. Okay, here's the one that I think is the kind of a hook. This is the Googlebook arrives, Neo's first real challenger. The biggest news in the MacBook Neo's short life, Google announced Googlebook I/O 2026, with an Intel immediately confirming it will power all the devices. So, Intel was all over this saying, oh, we're so happy to produce chips for Google. We're so excited in this new venture. At the same time, Apple's trying to negotiate with them to produce more A18 Pro chips for Neos and possibly the chip for the next version of the notebook. I just find this kind of funny. Did any of you guys take a good look at this in terms of what they're talking about?
I kind of avoided it, to be honest. I mean, it can't be any better than a Chromebook, for crying out loud. I mean, but I guess I should have looked at it a little closer. But okay. I mean, Intel's probably going to end up doing business with Apple too. I mean, they're a chip manufacturer. I mean, the business has changed. It's not like it was in the old days. There's so many options. You don't hear much about AMD processors. Why is AMD working? We're doing this too. Which is surprising. I haven't heard much news at all from AMD, but Intel's they're hurting. I mean, their stock value and the company's revenue has been way down for many years.
The key thing is it doesn't exist yet. No one knows what the price is, and no one can really try it out. So it's a great announcement. Intel gets some press out of it. Google can announce that, maybe you don't need to worry. We'll have an answer, but it still isn't here yet. And with all the pricing of storage and memory being so insanely high right now, I have no idea how anyone can come out with a device that can compete well with the Neo. So, and if they're saying, yep, and it's going to be just as well built and it'll have the same premium feel, maybe. But it's going to take them a while to actually be able to produce and ship it. And, that's assuming that somehow memory prices recover before it comes out the door. And maybe it's something that'll show up like in a year.
The stuff that I've read about it is they're predicting for a September release for this, which I think is a lousy time to release new laptops because people have already made their buying decisions for the academic year, unless they're looking at this is going to be the Christmas present that every kid wants, a Google book. They have 5 partners, Acer, Asus, Dell, HP, and Lenovo, targeting for fall 2026. The platform runs a hybrid of Chrome OS and Android with Gemini intelligence baked in. And the thing that I saw was you wiggle the mouse and it immediately opens the thing. What would you like Gemini to help you with? So, if you move your mouse erratically over something, you're going to get a request for Gemini that is baked into the operating system. It's just, it is interesting. Oh, I think the code name for it is aluminum, but then they made it really clear that it's not going to be made of aluminum, but some kind of compound with it. It's just interesting.
I think aluminum was the name for the operating system instead of Chrome. Yeah. And I don't know. Looking at this article, you see they have 5 manufacturers gearing up to make hardware to run Google's operating system. I don't think Macworld is going to need an AI to write their stories taking both sides of this, because you can take everything that was ever written on Apple versus Windows and just do a find and replace and put Google in instead of Windows. Because all of the characteristics are the same, where Apple has an integrated system. They do the hardware and the software, so it's tightly integrated and works well together. And then on the other side, well, you have the different manufacturers competing, so they compete to get lower prices out there, but the level of quality isn't the same because it's not all coming from the same place. This looks just like a carbon copy of the Mac versus Windows debates of years gone by, going to take place all over again.
Yeah, one of the articles in our batch of articles, again, you can get these all through the show notes, either on the video version of the show or the audio version of the show. Just look in the show notes when they get produced. You'll get the links to them. One of the articles comes out of PhoneArena, and it's actually a pretty good article talking about like who needs this. And is the timing good? It's kind of hard to ignore. It came out right after Neo. And then do we need more AI with it? So it's a good, I think a rather good analysis of what little we know about the device at this point. Okay, so am I going to get one?
I hope not.
You hate it, Dave, when I spend money on
I don't hate it.
the bad guys.
You just like doing it. I'm fine. That's fine. I respect that.
Better you than me.
And I would ditto here.
Yeah, I know. I probably won't. I'll go look at them in the stores, but I probably won't get one. I don't know what they can do to do a Frankenstein of Android and Google Chrome to kind of turn it into a viable operating system. So,
Well, it's still probably going to need a lot more power to run. So
yeah.
either it'll have not as much battery life, or it'll be heavier. Now that being said, yeah, go. I wouldn't want them not to make a new Chromebook. I'm just not confident that it's going to be a significant improvement. Although versus Windows, the operating system cost should be lower.
Yeah, speaking of Windows, next article is Microsoft's MacBook Neo white paper is a very serious joke. The Windows maker commissioned a report on budget laptops because it is totally not worried about Apple. And this comes, Macworld's Roman Loyola dissects Microsoft's commissioned white paper on budget laptops, a report that was framed as an industry study, but transparently designed to argue that Windows 11 laptops offer better value than the MacBook Neo. The piece notes that the white paper's methodology favors multi-threaded CPU workloads and ignores battery life, build quality, display performance, software ecosystems, and long-term security support, the categories where the Neo dominates the Windows. So sort of a hit piece, commissioned
It says
by
commissioned by
Microsoft.
Microsoft.
Commissioned by
Signal
Microsoft.
65.
Yeah. So who's paying for the information is important in there.
Microsoft, of course.
Yeah.
Well, and it's all well and good to commission a white paper and give their sales team something to talk about, but normally you want to follow that with a product of some sort, and it looks like this paper is it.
Yeah.
So
Microsoft isn't going to be doing anything but continuing to put out Surfaces.
Well, it just means there isn't an answer in the coming up anytime soon. It'll be another year or two before we maybe hear something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Couple articles of interest, and these are kind of lumped into reviews. So I won't spend a lot of time with them. MacBook Neo review 2 months later, almost a MacBook Pro beater. And this comes from Apple Insider. Review revisits trade-offs faded in practice. The missing backlit keyboard, the same yada yada that we've heard before. The 8 gigabyte RAM ceiling is a problem, according to this review, and Apple's strongest endorsement for buyers upgrading from Intel era Macs or older silicon. For that audience, the Neo delivers generational performance, a leap at a price that makes the upgrade a no-brainer. Another article from this comes from a Medium post, and I go up and down with Medium posts, but because sometimes they're just opinion pieces from people who haven't taken a real good look at it. But this is a pretty interesting one. Apple's MacBook Neo has caught them out. As good as it is, you can't have one. And again, this talks a little bit about availability and being able to pick one up and make it accessible. So some interesting stuff in this article. Makes the case that the Neo succeeded because Apple's underestimated how many people were waiting for exactly that product. Affordable, well-built Mac that didn't require apologizing for its price. So kind of a fun article there. And then finally in this section, I got a MacBook Neo to run Xcode. The results were surprising. and an article from, again, from Medium. The developer benchmarked Xcode build times on a MacBook Neo using their own network forensics app written in C, Swift, and Swift UI, and real-world test rather than synthetic benchmark, and finds the results meaningfully better than their expectations going on. The conclusion's nuanced. Neo can run Xcode for real iOS development workloads, but isn't a comfortable daily driver for developers sustaining compilation works, making it a viable secondary travel machine for developers. Any thoughts on this?
I have one thought, and that is it kind of goes back to one of the previous articles as well, and that is the MacBook Neo is inexpensive enough that you can afford to try and buy a lower powered machine to see if it is good enough for your needs. In the past, the machines are expensive enough, you buy it, you get as much as you can get because you're not going to be able to afford to buy another one anytime soon. The Neo is a low enough price point, even if you had to turn around and sell it at a discount and then turn around and rebuy something because you really did need more power, it is doable without losing your shirt. And so you can try a low powered machine without regrets. And I don't think Apple anticipated that part. And I think that's one reason why the maker space is going after it as well.
Yeah. That's interesting. Cool. Any other comments?
I think it's interesting that the author chose to pit the Neo against the MacBook Pro. It just completely blew past the MacBook Air in Apple's lineup, which occupies that space
Yeah.
between the Neo and the MacBook Pro. And if that's the case, then I think the MacBook Air is going to be looking for a new market here real soon to find a reason to still exist as a product in Apple's lineup. It sounds like the Neo is really going to put the squeeze on it.
Yeah. Cool. I'm going to jump ahead to an article that the iPad Pro M5 versus the MacBook Neo, a case for both. And not the type of case where you cover it, but Max Bancroft at Max Ellis Reviews argues that iPad Pro M5 versus MacBook Neo comparison, which sounds odd on paper, given the price and tier difference, is that a surprising number of real buyers are generally facing, as Apple's product lineup has converged enough that the right choice is no longer obvious. I saw some things written today where people were looking at trying to decide whether they should get an iPad for education, a low entry, or an iPad as a low entry device for college education, or looking at a MacBook Neo. And uniformly, people were saying, get the Neo, because you're going to stumble. You're going to have some big workarounds you're going to have to do with the iPad in most cases. This piece's core argument is that the iPad Pro's M5 chip, larger display options, and portability make it compelling for creative professionals and tablet-first users. The MacBook Neo's Mac OS, full keyboard, and $599 price make it the right answer for anyone whose work involves a browser, a file system, or standard Mac software. So making a case for both, depending on and if you have workflows in both areas, then both of those are a good decision. This next article I threw in for David in particular, because I know he has a 17E, and this article, I'm not sure it's too kind. Does the iPhone need its own MacBook Neo moment? With a bunch of suggestions on what should happen with the iPhone. iPhone 16e is just an okay phone with an okay price. In contrast, MacBook Neo is a good laptop at a great price. And this comes out of 9 to 5 Mac. And should it prompt ideas like specifically whether a sub $499 iPhone Neo could replicate the Neo strategy of using bin chips and deliberate compromises to capture new tier of buyers. The piece references the 16E and goes on to talk about and that a true iPhone Neo at $399 or below would need the same kind of philosophical courage that the MacBook Neo represented. Guys, you've got thoughts on this?
No, it's never going to happen.
No,
I think if you want something cheaper, you buy an older iPhone. There's no reason for Apple to come out with a device that is underpowered and less than what they did. The 17E is a phenomenally nice
it is.
phone. It works well. It attaches to Wi-Fi really well. It can find cellular networks very well. If it weren't for the camera, I would use it as my primary phone. But it's a really good device, and they finally have a kind of beginning iPhone, a user just entering into the into a job where they need a phone or going off to school or whatever. They finally have a phone that matches pretty well with the Pro line as far as performance, and will be able to handle all of the AI stuff coming up and everything, and doing work on the phone. You wouldn't want to reduce that. You wouldn't want to make it worse.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
I think there's something a little different going on here, where there's just the typical business cycle of you introduce a new product, the product matures, gets features added to it, it slowly gets that feature creep over time that makes it more expensive, and then all of a sudden you got to start over and come out with the low price product, and then that starts creeping up in features and price again, and it's just the cycle. And we're seeing that right now with the MacBook line, where the Neo is the new low cost thing, and then over time it's going to get new features added in, backlit keyboard, and then it'll become more expensive, and then ultimately there will be something to replace it or make it cheap again. We saw that on the desktop Mac line with the Mac Mini, how that kind of came in at the low end and then is creeping up in price. And the iPhone is kind of like mid-cycle. That process was started with the iPhone SE many years ago, and now that's transitioned to be the iPhone 16e, 17e, and eventually we'll get to a point where, yeah, Apple will come out with something cheaper again, but I think it'll be some time yet for that cycle to kind of restart.
Yeah. Dave? Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. I was going to say the 16E and 17E, though, were a little bit different in that the way Apple got the prices down before was to have old hardware. Even if it was a new device, it was basically an older version of the processor, older whatever it is, and they just sold it for less. They finally sent hardware out that was full performance hardware with a couple little changes. And I don't think that's going to change. I think it's too important to have something that's a lower price, but is as powerful as all of the other devices. And it's a wonderful way of going forward with it. And it means people can get into the Apple ecosystem at all sorts of different levels and have it work, not have it be just barely enough.
Yeah, I kind of think Apple is not worried about its phone market. David, did you have something?
51% of their business? I don't think so.
Yeah. And Oliver said, I don't think Apple has any incentive to make an iPhone cheaper. They're already making massive amounts of money on the current price point, and people are willing to pay for that. And I think what Eric said in terms of there are always used or older phones out there on the market if they need to go cheaper to get into the ecosystem. So pretty pretty interesting thoughts around this. And Oliver also said, I also think that the laptop market is fundamentally different than the phone market. I think we're in a tech community often forget that many, dare I say, most people, their phone is their primary device. So they make decisions around that.
Yep. I will add. I had 16E. I had the 17E, and I was kind of surprised that Apple even came up with something like the 16E. It didn't have MagSafe. Performance was lagging. I was kind of disappointed. But then when the 17E came out, I've been highly recommending it. I did presentations talking about the iPhone 17E, and it's a very, very good phone, just like Eric said. It's got a great processor. Camera's not great, but you know what? There's people out there aren't so concerned about that. I mean, it's a decent camera. It's got the Fusion camera, but you're still getting great pictures out of it. I mean, Eric, you're I guess would be considered a professional photographer. You know, with what pictures you take, it definitely is a big difference between the Pro. I mean, the Pro and Pro Max. So, but I highly recommend it to most people out there that are looking for just a budget iPhone and not have to spend a lot of money. The Pros are over $1,000. I mean, when all said and done, I mean, you can get the 17 Pro, but it's still close to $1,000 on that. The Pro Max, yeah, you're spending $1,200-$1,300 depending on how much space you get. So that's where you got to weigh it. Well, beyond that, the phone itself is just remarkably good. I just think back to the comparisons with like when they first came out with the SE and the SE2 and then the SE 2024. Those were horrible phones. I mean, I bought that SE2, the last model, and I like returned it the next day. It was just, why did I do this? Because I mean, the fact of the matter is, I use it for beta testing, and that's why I like to have a second iPhone. But I just couldn't even stomach even using that phone. I said, I'll just wait. So I'm happy with this, and I'll probably end up trading it in again when another model comes out, and that's what you do.
Yeah,
I still have my SE2 from 2020 that I bought for a work phone, and it still is working fantastic for me. So I think there's definitely a broader market out there. Now, I'm probably going to have to get a new one in another year or so when it stops supporting the latest operating system. But otherwise, yeah. And, it's not that I think that Apple needs to come out with a cheaper phone like this instant. I'm just saying that in the next couple years, the market will change and it'll turn over and there'll be push to do something again. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be, in the short term. I think that's more medium to long term.
Did the SE2 have SIM chips that you could take in? And okay. So I bought one of those and had it as a travel phone. Because functionally, if I was going to go anywhere, I was going to take a laptop. It was going to be in my hotel room, and the phone was something that could be easily stolen and it wouldn't break my heart compared to whatever high-end phone I had at the time. So I would take my chip out of one and put it in another for travel purpose. And then Dave knows I got a 16E and kind of gave up on that line. I didn't jump to the 17E because I was looking at getting an iPhone Air. And so that was kind of my 16E replacement in terms of phones. I don't think we're going to see any of this kind of stuff as a result. Apple's got a nice, good phone business going on where they don't need to turn it into a cheap Microsoft phone or something like that. I'm going to move this.
Marty, Just one last thing for reference. You're asking what features the SE2 has. The SE2 still had a home button. That's how old it is.
Yeah. I remember that. I had to get used to using
mine's sitting about 4 feet over there.
I had to get used to using a home button again. And then there are kind of times I like that where you just press a button and you get back to where you want. There's something about that functionality that's pretty cool. I'm going to move along because we do have a short discussion topic tonight, but I can't resist this article. It's not an article. It's actually a a post in Reddit where if you at one time asked Google AI as of May 2026, if you ask Google AI, what's about this MacBook Neo, Google AI would tell you it hadn't been released yet. And hopefully they've corrected that. But yeah.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
Using that.
That makes me want to jump on that Google Book with Gemini installed in it right away. So yeah, kind of a fun little read through with all sorts of interesting comments from folks in Reddit. And again, we'll have that link for you. Another interesting article, a post from Reddit. iPad with a Magic Keyboard versus MacBook Neo or Air. And same old in terms of people arguing, get the Air, skip over the MacBook Neo. And then the sheer combination of costs of a good iPad and the Magic Keyboard that you have to attach to it is in question with it. So let's go to the feature. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Come on.
Yeah. So let's go to the featured topic. If you could change one thing in the MacBook Neo at no cost, imagine that Apple had a way of doing it without any cost influence. But essentially still being a MacBook Neo, what would you change? And I'm just going to kind of go around the circle here. Eric, we'll start with you.
I would put the radio from a 17E into it. I'd make sure it had a built-in modem. Otherwise, I wouldn't change anything else.
Okay, so you'd like to see a modem in it. Then let's go to Dave.
I'd like them to reevaluate their ports. I mean, USB 2, why? I mean, it can't cost that much to put in a 3.2 at the very least, USB-C. And we don't know any reasoning why they decided to do that. I mean, you'd think it's probably cost, but yeah, I would like to see the ports updated. I mean, adding MagSafe, I know what that costs, so I didn't. I respect that decision. But yeah, have 3.2 ports. Give me a break.
Yeah. And Brett, your thoughts?
Mine goes back to the backlit keyboard. When I'm out traveling, I do a lot of long distance train traveling, which for me is super fun. The lighting on board at night, not so great in those little bedrooms. So having the backlit keyboard has always been a useful feature for me. So I think that's the one thing I would like back first.
You mean the lighting in the bedrooms on the train, on the long distance, long travel train?
Yeah.
So you don't have those things like on airlines where the spots can go to certain areas, or
so
having
the
never traveled,
right?
Yeah.
The spotlight sits right about here. So if you're holding up a book, it's fantastic. But to see a keyboard that's laying flat,
see what you mean.
That light's not going to work too good.
Yeah. I keep one of, whenever I travel, I take one of those small little plug-in LED lights that kind of you can bend over on top of your keyboard to illuminate the keyboard. I do that primarily to keep from my wife waking up and complaining about the light and turn that thing off. Because hotels are not very forgiving with that either. I think what I would want, this might be asking too much. I need more real estate. I need a 15-inch. And I'll pay an extra $200 or an extra $150 for a 15-inch just because it seems that's like the sweet spot. Even if they got it up to 3.7, or got it up to what the typical 13-inch MacBooks are, I would be happy or happier just to have that extra real estate. When I set the resolution so high that I get more real estate, I can't read half the stuff that's on the screen. So I'm looking for a sweet spot somewhere in between the default resolution and the higher resolution, and being able to see the higher resolution but on a little bit larger screen would be the choice for me. We have a bunch of 5-6 articles that are links that talk about MacBooks Neo's missing features, ranked as from MA to S. Some of these articles we've covered before, but they'll give you a few resources to think about if you want to think about the MacBook Neo and different changes that you might want to consider, or they might want to consider, reviews from a month later, and things like that, where people have kind of said, this is what I could really use in terms of improvement on the Neo. So I don't know if there anything else to share from the group. We've got a show. We've got a wrap.
We do. We got a wrap.
And
Yeah.
Oliver said the best thing to do is just make it a MacBook Pro, but still keep it at $599. I doubt Apple's gonna.
Good luck with that.
And frankly, as an Apple shareholder, I would vote that down, Oliver.
Yeah.
And then follows it up with kidding. So I appreciate that. And thanks for the folks who joined us in the chat room. Oliver Niehaus, also Peter Emery, Brian was in there for a bit. So thanks for all the folks that chatted along and watched the live show. I'll produce this and have it out before midnight tonight, my time, and then I'll get some well-deserved rest. Thank everybody who has been in the chat room. Also want to remind you about MacStock. If you go to MacStockConference.com, that website now has the speakers up in terms of who's going to be speaking at MacStock. Eric will be there. I will be there speaking. Dave will be there speaking, and Brett will be there. It is a great opportunity for you to meet with like-minded Mac people and spend 3 days with them, or 4 days if you want to do the eCam camp. But go to MacStockConference.com, take a look at the site, and if you choose to purchase a ticket, you can put in Pod Talk as your discount code, and it will get you $50 off the cost of a ticket. But we are all looking forward to MacStock. It's 8 weeks away, July 11th, or July 9th through the 12th. If you include the eCam camp for the first day. All looking forward to it, all trying to get ready for it, and just look forward to the community and the time together. And the Italian beef, which is right down the street. So we'll enjoy that opportunity to get out together as a group, and hope you will join us because there are no strangers there in terms of finding people to sit and talk with. Some of it is kind of neat because people meet before breakfast, and then we have lunches provided. So there are multiple tables, and you just find an empty chair at a table, and you're sitting down next to Dave, you're sitting down next to Allison, you're sitting down next to Jill, you're sitting down next to folks and Brett and Eric, folks that you're familiar with from podcasts, and all curious about what your interests are in Apple. And so take a look at MacStockConference.com. Let's find out where we can find you, and we'll start with David Ginsburg.
Thanks, as always, Marty, for having me, and we really enjoy this show. I can be found at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. YouTube channel is youtube.com/intouchwithios. You can find me here on Sundays, Neo Notebooks, Mondays on Vision Profiles with Marty and Eric, Tuesdays, Mac Voices Live, Thursdays we record In Touch with iOS, Fridays I'm on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network, and I'm on Blue Sky and Mastodon at Dave G65.
Great. Eric.
I can be found on Mastodon at EA Bolden at mes.to. On Sundays, of course, the Neo Notebook. Mondays on Vision Profiles. Tuesdays on Mac Voices Live. And Thursdays on In Touch with iOS.
And Brett, really, thank you for being part of this. I mean, it's so much fun to have you as part of a podcaster. We've met before at MacStock, and it's just good to have you along on this. So thanks for being here and being part of this contribution. Where can folks find you?
All right. So social media, my social media choice these days is on Mastodon, bkennedy at twit.social. You can find me there. Otherwise, as soon as the show's over, you're going to find me downstairs on the patio here at my apartment, joining my neighbors in whatever they're cooking on the barbecue down there. It smells delicious. So I really want to get going.
Nice.
That sounds wonderful.
Well, yeah, I'll be sitting here editing the program, trying to get it out as I can, and trying to get some good night's sleep. You can find me at thepodtalk.net. That's where you'll find shows and links to the Neo Notebook, Vision Profiles, and other shows that I do as part of the PodTalk network, podcasts and live video streams with podcasts attached to them. Again, also on Chuck Joyner's show on Tuesday nights with Mac Voices Live, Thursdays with Dave on In Touch with iOS, and Friday mornings with the Mac Show on the British Tech Network. Check me out at thepodtalk.net, also at Gencius, Jencius on Blue Sky, Mastodon, LinkedIn if you want to find me there, and other social networks. So thanks, gang, for being a part of this. And thanks to, the folks in our chat room, and also folks who watch this live who aren't in our chat room, or folks who watch it later on or listen to it later on. Really, thanks for being part. New episodes drop every Sunday night at 9 p.m. on YouTube. You can subscribe at youtube.com/@the-Neo-Notebook. Subscriptions are free, but they help me feel better about myself. So you can contact us at the PodTalk Network at gmail.com. Again, thepodtalk.net. Spread the word to other neophyte users. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.